There are aspects of my personality that I can't control.
See a shrink?
It's a little bit more complicated than that.
Bruce, trust me when I tell you I've heard them all.
Not this one. I don't want to control it. I want to get rid of it.
As far as I'm concerned, that man's whole body is property of the U.S. Army.
They want it as a weapon. If we let it go, we will never get it back.
What the hell was that?
There's only one thing that can fight that. It's in me. Maybe if I can control it, I can use it.
Hey guys, Adam here, and welcome to another On the Couch, continuing Marvel Madness. So I'm not going to be as bombastic as I usually am. I think it's because my roommate is asleep, probably. I don't know, his car's outside, but his doors are closed, so whatever. It's like 9 o'clock, which makes it a little weird. So, The Incredible Hulk. This one is a little strange to discuss, mostly because of its history afterwards. First off, this is a very underrated movie. It is. It's hands down probably Marvel's most underrated film that they ever came out with. Which is why I like it so much. It's their darkest one, or it was their darkest property until Daredevil came out. And let me just get the plot out of the way. The plot is 5 years. It's been 5 years since Bruce Banner had the accident that turned him into the Hulk. He's still on the run from Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross and the rest of the U.S. Army. One day he's cornered and he's cornered by the army, and he continues going on the lam, meets Betty Ross, and also has to stop the Abomination while trying to find a cure for getting rid of the Hulk. I mean, it's basically a fugitive movie. That's what it is, plain and simple. It's a very simple premise, to be honest. There's really not much I can go into about this premise, except that Bruce Banner's on the run. And one thing about this movie is it's less comic booky than the others. And the reason being is because this movie was shot and written and shot more like they wanted to adapt the TV series into a movie. That's the vibe it gets. Hell, you get the Lonely Man theme song played in the movie itself. You get Lou Ferrigno in it. Hell, he's the voice of the Hulk, which is a lot of fun. But this is a very underrated film. This is actually one of my favorite Marvel films and by this point, you know, I love them all, but this is this is like the one film people tend to either overlook or just completely overlook or just forget even exists in this universe. Me, on the other hand, I'm not. And especially when it came out in the year of comic book movies. This came out in 2008. this was Marvel's second cinematic movie, and yet people just tend to forget about it, tend to ignore it. Because, I mean, you had Iron Man, you had Dark Knight, you had Hellboy 2, you had Wanda, you had all those. And here's Incredible Hulk, which I think it was more of the sleeper hit of the summer of 2008 than anything else. And yeah, and honestly, I really enjoyed this. This was actually one of my favorite movies of 2008. And I saw plenty of good movies in 2008, especially when I'm recovering from back surgery and I didn't have to go to work for 6 months. So my summer was awesome. To go ahead and just talk about, God, I'm sorry, like I said, this is a very difficult one to talk about because it is so underrated and it's such a simple movie. Let me say it this way. It's better than Ang Lee's Hulk because Louis Leterrier gets it. He does. He gets what the Hulk is. He gets what the story is. It's a fugitive movie. It's about who the Hulk is, about a man with a monster inside of him trying to outrun the government, at the same time trying to find a way to get rid of it, trying to control it. Because the Hulk is quoting Tony Stark here, a giant green rage monster. That is the story. It's so simple. It's so simple and yet in a way complex at the same time, which Ang Lee obviously didn't get. Ang Lee probably just saw the Hulk and it's like, oh, I'm going to make this into a 2.5 hour B monster movie, and I'm going to pull shit out of my ass because I have no idea what I'm doing. And what's really funny is this was the movie I was looking forward to the least. I was looking forward to it, but it was one I was just like, okay, I'm going to see it. I'm probably not going to like it. Or I'll probably just like, it's okay. And I loved it. I loved it when I saw it. It was just that damn good. So, characters. Casting characters. Edward Norton as Bruce Banner is... When he was cast, I actually thought it was an excellent choice. He does a really good job in this. He really does display what Bruce Banner was supposed to be in this movie, which is a fugitive from the government, a guy on the run, someone who has been on the run for a very long time, someone who wants to be alone, and he plays it to a T, which is a very different take on what Mark Ruffalo is going to do in Avengers. Excuse me. But he definitely displays those emotions for that character. The character of a guy just really kind of burnt out, really tired of having to run, but he knows he has no other choice but to. Liv Tyler as Betty Ross. Nothing against her. I do love Liv Tyler. Liv Tyler's a great actress. I was perfectly fine with the casting, but she's not the best choice. I wouldn't say she was a miscast, but she wasn't great. This is the one time I would say, yeah, Jennifer Connelly was the better decision for Betty Ross, or is the better Betty Ross, because she's more believable as a scientist than Liv Tyler is. She is. I guess it just has to do with how Liv Tyler usually talks. It's just this very quiet whisper, sort of. Again, nothing against her. I love Liv Tyler. Liv Tyler's awesome. But I just feel like maybe she was not the best choice, but not entirely a miscast. Tim Roth, on the other hand, as the Abomination, as Emil Blonsky, aka the Abomination, is awesome. Tim Roth is an intimidating fucker. He is just this aged soldier who really wants to keep fighting, and he even says this. And he wants to fight someone powerful enough to definitely give him a challenge. And he just displays his arrogance because he knows he is past his prime. And at this end, you can tell he is having fun. You can tell he's having fun playing this villain, playing this burnt out, possibly psychotic soldier, who then gets to play the Abomination, and that's where he really has fun, because he's also, he's motion capturing this character and voicing him, and that's where he just really lets loose. William Hurt. Now, I've seen William Hurt in plenty of movies where you can say he's bland, and he is. He's very, 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 very bland in these movies, or in the movies he's in. Not here. Definitely not here. Here, he is one. This is probably his most emotional performance that I have ever seen him in. He does not let up. Again, this guy is having fun. This guy knows what he's in. Well, and he gives it his all. He knows he's in a comic book movie, but he doesn't act like he's above it, because he knows that this is a movie that has potential. He acts, he acts like a guy on his last leg as a general, because he is so hell-bent on capturing the Hulk. And I'm gonna talk about something I don't usually talk about, like the deleted scenes. There's an extended scene of Ross and Blonsky conspiring about how they're going to take down the Hulk, and it's much longer, and there's like a speech he gives, and you can tell, because with this speech, that Ross may have lost it a while back trying to find the Hulk, and it's just really kind of made him also unhinged. And it's a lot of fun. It's so much fun. But also at the same time, he's very much a guy who loves his daughter. It's just he doesn't show it very well. One, he's a military career, he's a career general, but at the same time, he's so focused on getting Banner because he has such a hard-on for the Hulk. He needs to get him because he wants that power. Which, if they make another Hulk movie, I hope they do Red Hulk. I really do. But one of the negatives I'm going to have to say about this movie, and like I said, I love this movie. I really do. I normally don't find a lot of problems. I mean, there's not many problems with this movie, but if there is one problem, is the side characters, like the supporting cast. Like when they show some of the supporting cast, and again, I know this is more of an adaptation of the TV series than it is the comic book series. So, and they want to give that feel, which is Bruce Banner runs into some people, knows them for a couple of minutes, and then leaves. That's what is here, but the way they portray these characters, the way the characters are written, is as if they're meant to be there longer. They're meant to be there much longer than they are. And it's a little jarring, especially like in the first act, you have like this he's in Brazil and he's working in a bottling factory, and then you show this really hot looking Brazilian girl that works at the bottling factory, who obviously has a bit of a crush on Bruce, and he looks like he may have a liking to her as well. First off, they really like to show her like sweaty or wet or something, because I've never seen her in this entire movie without some way her body is glistening. I'm not kidding. Like, this girl's skin is glistening throughout the entire movie. And I get it. It's like she works hard and whatnot, but then she's like caught like just getting out of the shower or something. And I'm like, really? But I feel like she was possibly meant to be the love interest. But they wanted to bring in Betty Ross and not this character. This character, I don't know, like she has a name, she just barely has any lines. Actually, I don't think she has any lines. She's excuse me. She's actually a model. That's what she is. And it's a little disappointing because I could tell this is a character. This is a character that was meant to be more. Then you have like Stanley, who is a character, or who's voiced by the guy that played Bruce Banner in one of the older Hulk cartoons. And he's in this playing a guy who knew Bruce when he was younger. He owns this pizza joint. And again, he feels like he's meant to be more. He's meant to be a much bigger character than he is. And he's only in it for 5 minutes. He's really just there to help Bruce get from point A to point B, and that's it. And again, there are deleted scenes with this character, and I'll pause this video in a little bit and talk about more of the deleted scenes, because I feel like it's like a separate thing on its own, while still connected to this. But it feels like he was meant to do more. It's just they didn't find a way to write it in. And then you have a character like Leonard Samson, played by Ty Burrell. Again, and this is a guy from the comics. This is a guy who becomes a superhero as well, which is really hard considering it's Ty Burrell. I mean, that would be weird. But he's in the movie, he's Betty Ross's boyfriend, and you only see him after, like, the first time you see him, he's like on the campus, he's meeting Betty, and then later you see him in Stanley's restaurant, and that's it. And then all of a sudden you see him at the end of Act 2, where he's running towards the action scene, and an explosion happens, and he goes and he screams Betty's name, and then it turns out he called Ross, telling them, yeah, Bruce is here, which would throw a lot of people off if they hadn't seen the deleted scenes or seen the trailers, which is they show more. He had more scenes, which explains a lot. It explains a lot about this movie, or about this character, as to why he did that, which is he's jealous of Bruce. He even says this, look, I'm jealous of Bruce, I'm jealous of you, man, because she obviously still cares about you. Because you were on the run, you just disappeared, and she never really stopped looking for you. And she does, and it's one of those things that they should have let in that movie, which is why he called Ross. And again, like this is like one of the few negatives I have about this movie. And again, like Samuel Stearns, played by Tim Blake Nelson, the leader. Again, he's just, I mean, he's there to set up creating the abomination and quite possibly carrying Banner, but also to set up, possibly set up a sequel, which for now will never happen, as the leader, because like part of Bruce's blood gets into touches his head and his brain starts growing. Going back to deleted scenes, like I said, there are a lot of deleted scenes in here, and they're some of the best, really. They are, mostly because whenever I see deleted scenes, I have a rule with those. I don't normally consider them canon with the movie because they're not in a theatrical cut or they're not in any extended cut. But I feel like this is one of those movies that needs an extended cut because the deleted scenes that I've seen are so necessary. They are completely necessary because it tells more of the story. It explains everything. It explains characters' motivations. It gives more character. It explains how they find this character and a bunch of other stuff. And it just feels like they're not really... It feels like they cut these out for running time and pacing, and after seeing these scenes, you just kind of go, I really want a cut where these scenes are added. Like, for instance, the extended scene between Ross and Blonsky. I really like that scene because it gives more to the character. It gives more backstory to the characters, and it also shows more of possibly them being very unhinged. Now, there are some scenes that are unnecessary, like there's a scene where Bruce is delivering pizza to colleges. Now, there was one part where he delivers it to a couple of people, like a group of people that are trying to come up with this equation, and he goes, your temperature is too high, you need to lower it a bit. And they realize that he's right, and they're just like, how does that pizza guy know that? But, I'm like, okay, that's actually funny because Bruce is smart. And or Bruce isn't really a pizza delivery guy. He's a scientist. But then it cuts to this part where he's delivering pizza to a sorority house. They're trying to rip him off, and it just kind of like drags. It drags, and then he goes to like the computer lab where he needs to be, and then he's like, this guy who I don't want to explain it because it just it's like that part I'm glad that sort of scene was cut because that was unnecessary. That part would have that part drags and it would have killed the pacing. So I'm fine with it I'm fine with the scene like that not being in it. But scenes like where Bruce and Leonard Samson actually have a one-on-one conversation, that part works. Because it explains why this character did it. It gives that character motivation. There is motivation behind why he called Ross. Also, there's another scene that's really good character scene where Bruce, Betty, and Leonard are having dinner, and they're just having and Leonard's just discussing a patient, and they're just having a good time, and Bruce starts crying, and it's really good because you know why he's crying. He's like, because he even explains, like, I never felt like this in a long time, and I'm just like. And you get why, and it's a very good emotional scene. It's something I really wish was kept in the movie because it really like makes you start choking up as well. Oh god. But there are indeed scenes that I wish were kept. Like I said, there was even a scene where they show after the Brazil incident, they show team members, like Blonsky's team members, are killed by the Hulk. Grant, I guess I can understand why they didn't put that in there, because it would have definitely made the Hulk seem more like a villain. But those are like aspects of the Hulk I like, is that yes, he has killed people. He has killed innocent people because he's a raging monster. He can't control himself. So he's going to end up doing something like that. I would have been fine with that, but I get why. I get why they didn't keep that in there. But also, it's also a scene where, like, again, Ross just goes on a tirade. just basically showing more of how possibly crazy he is. But that's all I really want to say about those, because like I said, those deleted scenes are really good. Some of the best deleted scenes I've seen. And I wish some were unnecessary, I wish some were put in the extended cut. And that's like the biggest negative I have for this movie. It's like there are some things that should have been left in this movie that would have explained a lot of things. A good solid, and then all the deleted scenes, counting both discs, disc 1 is about 13 minutes, and the other disc is about 30 minutes of deleted scenes. So about 15 minutes, maybe. Hell, you know what? Take the pizza delivery scene. Take that first part and cut it, or take that first part of that scene, leave that in there, and just cut the rest, and then just cut the rest out. Good solid 15 minutes of extra footage. I would have been fine with that. Story structure, otherwise the story structure is fine. I really do like it. When I was watching it last night, I realized something about it. Each act is structured like an episode of the show, because you got the first act, which is Bruce just trying to find a cure in Brazil, living his life on the run, hidden, and and then he's caught, and then he hulks out, boom, end of Act 1. Second act is played like another episode, where it picks up with him on the run, like just now more on the run this time around, because he's trying to get back home so he can find the data to get answers, and then end of it is he hulks out again. And same thing with the third one. The third one's like the finale, where he fights the big bad of the season. Like I said, each one is structured like an episode, or each act is structured like an episode of the show. And while this may be jarring for some people, because it means like you're not seeing transitions in the story, like it may not flow as well, I am perfectly fine with this, because you can tell like what they're going for, and I really like that. I respect something like that. But I just wish there was an extra 15 minutes. Action scenes are really good. The action scenes are fantastic. Like, a good chunk of it is practical. There are practical effects in this. Now, granted, the Hulk isn't. Some of the damage he does isn't, which is fine. That's perfectly fine. I get that. But like I said, the action's really good in this. When the Hulk is fighting, it's really suspenseful. It's really, or not suspenseful. Sorry, it's just one of those. It's not. It's just huge. It feels huge, but at the same time, it feels very small. It does. It feels small enough to where you can believe this is happening, but at the same time, big enough to where your attention is focused. but also the chase scenes, the scenes where he's running from the military is also really good because it shows that Bruce has learned things over the years to be a better fugitive, to be able to hide better from people. And so he's learned things like parkour, he's learned Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's learned these things because he knows he's gonna have to. Sorry. Trying to think now. The special effects. One thing about Ang Lee's Hulk is how bad the Hulk looks. Like, he looks like an effect. He doesn't look real. He doesn't even look... It looks like they just inflated a balloon and said, here's the Hulk. Here he looks... You believe he's there. Like, they make sure he literally leaves an impact. Also, they give him character. They make you believe he is real. Like, he's Bruce Banner, but at the same time he's a separate character, and they give him character. They give him personality, and like, they make him, you sympathize with him. You can laugh with him. He can be humorous at times, and because is a Jekyll and Hyde monster, but unlike Hyde, the Hulk is really just a big kid or a big child. That's what he is, and they display it very well here. Hell, one of the other things I like about this is how they give Bruce like bits and pieces of his of the Hulk, of what happened when he was the Hulk, and it just like freaks him the fuck out. It's like one of those things that's really good, really well done, because again, you kind of sympathize with the Hulk and you sympathize with Bruce, because I mean, you understand, like, you don't want him to get rid of the Hulk, but at the same time you understand why he does. And it's again one of those things about the Hulk as a character that I love. I mean, because I've been a Hulk fan since I was a kid. Like, maybe not like to the extent of, like, say Edward Norton is, because he helped co-write the script. He doctored it up. But I am a fan to really admire the Hulk. The Abomination effects are also good. Like, I mean, now granted, it looks more like an effect than the Hulk does, but not so much so that, again, you don't believe he doesn't exist. Like, you don't believe he's not really there. And for those who are comic book fans, his design, yes, he looks more like Doomsday from DC more than he does the Abomination, and they explain why. Now, here's what I want to say about that. Quite possibly, if they do decide to do a sequel, and I'll get to that later, quite possibly he'll probably mutate to his more reptilian form, is what I'll say about that. Who knows? I mean, if they do make a sequel, and they said they would, but for now they're not going to, and I'm going to explain why. Recently, Mark Ruffalo actually went on an interview and explained why right now a Hulk solo film is not happening, even though there are rumors that it is. It's because technically the Hulk character is owned by Disney and Marvel. The rest of the Hulk universe is still owned by Universal. So Universal basically has the final say about whether a Hulk solo film can be made. And because that movie didn't make as much money back as, say, Iron Man, it might not happen. And believe me, I wish it did. I would love to see more Hulk movies. Hulk deserves a sequel. The Incredible Hulk deserves a sequel, because this is a really good movie. This is a movie that totally may not fit the universe, but you know what? Not all of them needs to be like Iron Man. And that's one thing I love about this franchise. Not all of them is Iron Man. A lot of them are completely different. And the Hulk does that. The Hulk is different. The Hulk is dark. The Hulk is very, very somber. But it's because it's a character movie. Not saying Iron Man isn't, but this one's more of a character movie because it's about a dude who can turn into a giant monster. So you're gonna have to give more to that. You're gonna have to give you're gonna have to give him more character to that than you would for a guy who is known for building a suit of armor and flying around in it. And that's what I love about this movie. Is it the best Marvel movie? No, not really. But to me, it's one of my favorites because it really is that underrated film. That film that no one really gives a chance. And I just really do enjoy the shit out of it. So my final score, and I know I want to talk more about stuff, but I got shit to do and I'm tired. Final score for The Incredible Hulk is an 8 out of 10. I really do love this movie. Like I said, I really do. It's one of the best Marvel movies I've seen. It's also highly underrated, and a lot of people will fell in love with the Hulk with the Avengers, but this is the movie that really gave me back my love for the Hulk, because Ang Lee kind of ruined it. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for this. All right, real quick, I watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a couple of nights ago. What I will do with those, like I said, I will rewatch those, and what I will do is a recap of 4 episodes each. Go ahead, and I'll do that when I get everything else out of the way. Or I will do the recaps for those soon. I'll do it over the weekend. But I'll have to rewatch them first before I do that. And then I'll get them out there. And like I said, what I'll do is 4 episodes, a 4-episode recap for one section, and then a 4-episode recap for the other. Same thing with The Flash. That's what I will do with that. And Gotham, I'll probably rewatch the last 4 episodes of Gotham to do that. Oh god, I'm trying to think, because I also have a bunch of other shows I gotta catch up on. I gotta catch up on Walking Dead, I gotta catch up on Grimm, hell, I got fucking Once Upon a Time to catch up on. I hadn't watched it since the mid-season finale. I even have Game of Thrones to watch. I gotta start watching that. I'm avoiding spoilers galore of that. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. 8 out of 10 for Incredible Hulk, and I will see you guys next time with what a lot of people say is the worst Marvel movie with no redeeming qualities, Iron Man 2. So I'll see you guys then. Until then, you all have yourselves a wonderful day.